We put it out there for the world, just give it away because it works. I wouldn't say greatly reduce it, because if we're greatly reducing it, we're not doing thorough work. We should be removing it completely.
Mike Mandel, one of the most influential hypnotists in the world. This is Mike Mandel, and it's absolute pleasure having you to interview you over Zoom. It's absolutely amazing. And I mean, you've been doing hypnosis, haven't you, for what, since 1975? So
yeah, as a job.
Full time, but a lot longer before that.
And 10 years prior to that, yeah.
And I just really appreciate you jumping on this call with me because, we're going to talk about fibromyalgia because you had fibromyalgia, didn't you? And
I did.
There's a method, a very powerful method I use as well, that you're going to show people this method. And you managed to overcome it, didn't you?
Yes, and I've had people contact me since and say that we put it out there for the world, just give it away because it works. And I've had people contact me, therapists. One used it on his wife, got rid of her fibromyalgia, and people have used it on themselves. That's the thing. I wouldn't say greatly reduce it, because if we're greatly reducing it, we're not doing thorough work. We should be removing it completely.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to go through that with you. But I think first of all, obviously, I know who you are. You're a legend in the industry. But Mike, can you please just give us a bit of background information of what you do, who you are?
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah, I emigrated to Toronto, Canada from England, 1957. Come over on a ship with me, mum and dad. And we came in from Chatterton in Greater Manchester in Oldham. And got to Toronto. We have all these American radio and TV stations across the border. We only had BBC and ITV in England when I came over. There wasn't even BBC Two or anything. And I was fascinated by television. My father thought I was watching too much TV. And by the time I was 12, I was addicted to television. And he said, "I want you to read some more books, lad." I said, "All right, get me some." So he took me to a bookstore in Toronto. I saw a book called The Key to Hypnotism by Walter B. Gibson. Bought it, memorized the contents, went next door, attempted to hypnotize my two neighbors, Wayne Gibbs and his brother Max. I was 12, so Wayne was maybe 10, Max was 9. Big joke to Max. Wayne was a phenomenal subject. And my very first attempt, he went into a very deep trance. He had a cataleptic limb. And I stuck, I think it was either a hat pin or a safety pin, I can't remember which, right through the flesh of his middle finger. So it was bleeding out both sides. And he sat there and looked at it. I mean, a 10-year-old kid, no discomfort, no fear, nothing. And I thought this was brilliant, but his parents didn't think it was so great. So he was the first one. And I kept playing with hypnosis as a hobby. And then January 29, 1975, I quit my job at Bell Telephone Company of Canada and began doing this full-time hypnosis and mentalism. And wound up doing 5 tours of Britain, 5 tours of Britain, 5 of Australia, all North America, Caribbean. I did over 5,000 hypnosis shows for 43 years on the road. But during that time, the latter years, especially from the early 1990s, began to train in NLP, wound up becoming an NLP trainer in John Grinder's New Code. Oh, yes. And trained in timelines, and I studied with Larry Nims in Oakland and Be-Set Free Fast and did all the EFG stuff and all these other things. I just found it. My niche was once I quit the stage just over 7 years ago. I focused entirely on teaching. We've been teaching since then out of Toronto, either live classroom or online. And I'll talk more about that later. But I've lived, eaten, and breathed hypnosis for more than 50, 60 years. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was only 70 years ago that you actually quit the stage. So that's quite incredible.
March the 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, glad to say good riddance to that.
Yeah. And as hypnosis, the field of hypnosis changed much over the time that you've been in it?
Yes, it has. We've gone from archaic, nonsensical methodologies. One ancient book, of course, say ancient, from the 40s or 50s, last centuries, 1950 or whatever. The guy, I mean, I don't want to say who it was because it's sacrosanct. You don't say anything about Harry Aaron's teaching, so I won't mention his name. But he actually says, if the person's really religious, speak to them in King James English, and as thou goeth into a trance. It's like, what? Do they understand what hypnosis is? Yeah, he's the one who actually said, if the person will not awaken, prop their eyelids open. What do you use, a toothpick, a golf tee? And Clockwork Orange and point a fan at their eyes to awaken. This stuff was crazy. And we lived in the dark ages for years. But we're undergoing the biggest boom and renaissance in scientific hypnosis since Bernheim and Lebo in the 1880s. It is
Yeah.
marvelous. 99% of all the hypnotists who have ever lived are alive today. And that's how
Yeah.
much it's taken off.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's a real story, but of course, you got interrupted a bit, didn't you? If you can just give me the story of that, because you had fibromyalgia, didn't you? And you were in a lot of
Yes.
pain, didn't you, for 2 or 3 years. Can you just
6 years.
explain your
I think it
story
was
of
6 years.
with
Yeah,
fibromyalgia?
about six
6
years.
years.
I developed
Oh,
I
wow.
developed fibro. I'm trying to think when this must have been, because it must be 15 years since I got rid of it. But I had it for 5 or 6 years, and it came on quite abruptly. I discovered that whenever the weather would change, especially when rain was coming, which was a torment to me because I'm a pluviophile. I love rain. I was born in England in April. I
Oh,
mean, it's in
really?
my
Okay.
DNA. And every time the weather would start to change, I'd get this deep aching in my joints and in the muscles, like I had a bad flu. And it would exhaust me because pain is exhausting. And my attempts to keep
Yeah.
it in the background, it's tiring. And I went to an osteopath in Toronto. He was a Lebanese osteopath from Armenia who trained in Scotland. His name was
Wow.
Dr. Demerjen. And he's the one who diagnosed me. He said there was I
Yeah.
think it was 18 points they check for fibro. And if you have
Yes.
12, you have it. And I had all 18. And
Oh, wow.
he couldn't believe I was walking around. So he would pack me in heat packs. He'd do deep muscle stretching of all the fibers out and agonizing. And then some Chinese cupping, some acupuncture, reflexology, a bunch of stuff. And I would leave there, Mark. And thank God the fibro pain and exhaustion had turned down about 80%. Would never go away. And I'd go home,
Yeah.
immediately take an Epsom salt bath, as he told me. And I was
Yeah.
taking handfuls of 222s, which were Canadian over the counter aspirin with codeine. And then
Okay.
that would mute it enough, I'd start to feel better. And it would take
Right.
about 10 days to 2 weeks. It would start coming back, coming back, coming back over and over and over. So it got so bad. My wife said to me the other day, she remembered I used to have to lie on a concrete floor because anything else was agonizing. That would sort of
Yeah.
allow everything to settle. It's not a comfortable way to
That's
live.
terrible.
It's not fun. Yeah. So then one day I thought I'm going to try throwing some EFT at this because I'd done all Gary Craig's EFT and it'll be set free fast. Well, the course, but I hadn't studied with Larry Nims yet. And tapas acupressure technique and touch and breathe. And there's so many of these. And
Yeah.
I had distilled the tapping down to Robert Smith's faster EFT, which I found got me 95% of the results without having to tap all these 13 points. And, when
Yeah.
EFT
Yeah.
first came in, they thought it had something to do with brain balancing. So they had to switching your eyes side to side
Yeah.
and they were adding, muscle testing and bringing in affirmations and all this stuff. And it was actually later, it was Larry Nims who said to me, I don't use any of that. I haven't for years. I said, really? He said, pretend you don't need it and see what happens. I got exactly the same results without all that. So I'd switched to Robert Smith's faster EFT, which is 5 points only.
Yes.
And so it's center of the forehead, outer corner of the eye, under edge of the collarbone, either side. Squeeze the wrist, take a deep breath, relax, and say peace. That
You've
re-anchors you.
adapted it. You've adapted it, haven't you? You've added another
Yes,
point.
I have. So I was getting good results with that. I actually met Robert Smith at Hypnothoughts Live, the biggest hypnosis convention in the world in Las Vegas, which I love going to. And he was a nice guy. We got talking. I actually did some graphology for him, a sample he wanted me to look at. So after experimenting with it, I remembered one of my clients. I was a therapist from 1993 to 2000. And then we lost our space. We're in the beaches right on Lake
Yeah.
Ontario. And my wife said, you're not even seeing clients anymore. I said, nah, it's too much trouble. But back then, with clients, I was using a thing from Chinese medicine where if they had anxiety, if they just tapped on the top of their head, the exact center, with the palm, hand, or even cupping it, some say,
Yeah.
maybe 50 times, and do that several times a day, their
Yes.
anxiety would tend to disappear. And I was stunned by this. And then I started thinking, with EFT, with all sorts of problems that we're treating, whether it's physical disorders or phobias or whatever, there's often an anxiety element. What if it doesn't work? What if it gets worse? What if it's all of these things? So I added just that one point, the top of the head, to the whole 5 of Robert Smith's faster EFT and became my 6-point method. And I've used that almost exclusively ever since and gotten phenomenal results. So my niece, Dr. Michelle Bodner, is a naturopath. She's really, really smart. And she said, I said, I'm going to use the tapping, see if I can clear the clear the fibromyalgia. And she said,
Yeah.
okay, but go after, this was brilliant, intuitive. She said, go after the underlying emotions first. And
Okay.
I said, well, shoot, I don't even know what the underlying emotions are. She said, well, just use that. I don't even know what they are, whatever these underlying emotions are. And it turned out I had some stuff happen in my life many, many years ago.
Hmm.
And this brought to surface that I was beating up on myself and didn't know it. And I'd had a series of accidents over the years. I survived a couple of car crashes. I was hospitalized for one of them.
Yeah.
And that sort of maybe laid a platform that this whole fibro could build on. And martial arts injuries. I'm a British jiu-jitsu instructor, so I've been thrown really hard over
Yes.
the years. And at 72, I don't let them throw me anymore. But there
I
was a
used to do,
foundation behind
I
this.
used to do judo as a child as well. And just remember just going there and being beaten up really pretty much every single section, being
Yeah, it
thrown
tends
over
to
shoulders against walls.
dissuades
Yeah.
the people who need it most. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so she said, go after the emotions. So I started doing the tapping, and I said to my wife, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm coming up when the fibro is gone. And I went down to our recreation room, and I just down the basement of the couch, and I said, back then I was doing this setup thing, which I don't do anymore. All that does, the setup, all it does is keep the evaded ego state executive until you can heal it. So we all have 100 to 150 different
Yeah.
subpersonalities. And that's one of the problems with the NLP and EFT and all these. When they don't work, the person isn't treating the evaded ego state. They have a different ego state executive. We see that
Yeah.
with smokers a lot. They phone, I got to quit. I got to quit. My brother died of cancer. I got to quit. Okay, I'll make an appointment next week. Can I get in sooner? I got to quit. Then they show up at the office. So you really want to quit? Yeah, I think I do. You've
Yeah. I
got a
think
different
so.
ego state shows up for the appointment. So we've got to get the one that it needs to be executive, the one that has the problem, because not all ego states will carry every problem. I mean, they'll even test differently on eye charts. So this
Yeah.
I thought the way to do it, I started saying the underlying emotions and doing the tapping, the emotions under the fibro. And then I started feeling it coming on really badly. So the way to keep that state executive is to keep feeling it in your physical body. If you don't, whatever
Okay.
the problem, all emotions are felt in the body. So if someone has a fear of flying, when they're on the plane, where are you feeling it in your body? Now, it's right here. Describe it. That's keeping that state executive by describing
Yes.
it and feeling it. They must feel it. But I had no
Yeah.
problem with that. And I started describing it. So I'd say, what is this? Deep gnawing ache in my joints. Deep gnawing ache. So I do first, deep gnawing ache in my joints. I got this deep gnawing ache in my joints. It's a gnawing, deep ache I've got. Deep gnawing ache. Now, I was checking for SUDS, subjective units of distress. How bad is it out of 10? So that was like an
Rating out of
8.
10, 0 to
Yeah,
10 kind of thing.
yeah. So 8 being what it was at the start. And I went, that's interesting. That's gone down to like a 3. Subjective. Did the
Yeah.
tapping again. Deep gnawing ache. Suddenly it jumped up to like a 7. Now it's not gone back up. What's happened
Okay.
is a holon, Arthur Kessler, a holon has been cleared, and now another one's popped up. Gary Craig used to say it's like, trace in a cafeteria. The next one pops up. So you stick with what you're feeling. And I said, it's
Yeah.
not deep gnawing ache anymore. What is it now? I went, it's flu-like ache in my muscles. So flu-like ache, tap that one down and keep just clearing every one that
Yeah.
popped up. And it took me maybe close to 45 minutes. And my energy started coming back, and the exhaustion, deep
Wow.
exhaustion through my whole body, falling asleep, just kept going relentlessly, never stopping until it was gone. And that's one of the problems. People quit too soon. You've got to clear stuff. If you
That's a
clear it,
long
it won't
time
come
doing
back.
EFT, isn't it? It's a long
Yeah,
because it's the actual tapping process doesn't take more than 30 seconds or a minute.
yeah,
So doing
yeah,
45 minutes, that is a long time. And is it, I mean, from what you're saying there, it's about, is it the key is to chunking down, so niching down
yeah.
to
As
the
specific as you
very
can.
specifics. Yeah.
As specific as you can. So I wouldn't do a tapping saying fibromyalgia. That's too gestalt. It's too big.
Yes.
I want to hook in on what am I feeling right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm feeling burning hip sockets, burning hip sockets. That was one of them. Bang, tap all that away. And I kept going. I'm saying 45 minutes for the whole thing, which included all the tapping around hidden emotions and emotional pain, which I didn't know what they were, but they were coming out. It's feeling better. Well, after that time,
Yeah.
I went upstairs and I didn't have a trace of it. Now, was it gone? No. I'll be honest, it was not gone. And I had thrown in some Be Set Free Fast in the beginning as well. but I don't use it anymore. I don't think Dr. Nims is even alive anymore. The reason why is this. He gave the world a great tool with that. But Larry Nims told me you have to get every root, every tendril. If you do not, it can rebuild itself. Now, my experience with the tapping is it doesn't rebuild itself. You come back a week later, the gains you got are still gone. So I really was relentless. But you know what happened, Mark? A week later, the weather changed. And I had a tinge of it back, maybe a 4 out of 10 for the first time. And I went, wait a minute, what is this? Pain from the rain. There's pain from the rain. I tapped that away, 2 rounds. That was it. And I've never had fibromyalgia since. And that's probably 15 years ago now. Just not even a twinge. And it was, so it does seem to indicate that there is an underlying energetic disruption of some kind, because when I checked on Chinese medicine charts, all the things we're tapping are acupuncture points.
Yeah, exactly. It's all acupuncture points. So what is your belief actually? So what is happening? By the way, before we carry on, I should explain that EFT is emotional freedom technique, isn't it? And it's other people just simply know it as tapping. And what we're talking about is a way which was developed, which was faster EFT. So, and so what do you actually believe is happening with EFT? I know people talk about energy points, energy lines.
Well, it's interesting because I've seen when you check with a skin galvanometer, I've seen, I can't remember, Dr. Beddick do this, and he'd pass it over your skin, there'd be nothing. And when he got to an acupuncture point that's supposed to be there, it goes, there's a different resistance in the skin at that point. All the points show up this way. So there's something there that can be detected electronically. Okay. Now, as to what it is, a subtle energy field, I don't know. I would say the whole energetic thing. I do Qigong as well. I haven't done it lately, but I don't, it's like cotton, as Rowan Atkinson said. He says, like cotton. I don't understand how it works, but I use it. It's like, yeah, I'm wearing cotton. I don't understand how the tapping works, but that's the wonderful thing about it. You don't have to believe in it. It is entirely, energetic, mechanical, and you tap it and you get the results. In fact, Mark, this one amazes me to no end. Before I was doing the 6-step, back when I was doing the full Gary Craig EFT, 13 points, twirling the eyes, singing happy birthday, all of this stuff. Full Monty. Before I was doing that, a guy came in. He was a Chinese Canadian guy, was going to make a presentation at work, and he was very nervous. And perfect. And I would always teach my clients how to use the 6-step so they can clear things themselves. They got a toolkit in their back pocket with them all the time now. So I said, okay. He said, I told him what I was going to do. He said, yeah, I don't believe in that stuff. I said, okay, say I don't believe in this and tap here. I don't believe in this. We come to tap the whole thing. And he went, okay, good to go. And then we fixed the problem. But he didn't even notice that he just cleared his doubt about it working with 1 round.
Yeah.
Didn't even cross his mind. You get a bit of an apex problem there where you cannot get in touch with what's just happened. Scary stuff. It's so amazing.
It's an amazing thing. I mean, I came across it first where I kind of first learned it on this course. But I've got to be honest, when I first saw it, I kind of thought, this looks a bit ridiculous. I don't think I can teach it to my clients, but I kind of remembered it. And then about a year later, I was giving a presentation to the Woking Chamber of Commerce. So that's basically a load of all the top business people in the area. And I was giving a presentation on basically on public speaking, how to do public speaking effectively. And one guy came up to me about 5 minutes before I was about to go on and sort of goes, blimey, you're doing it on public speaking. You better be good. Suddenly, that whole thing, like imposter syndrome, I suppose, like it's flooded over me. And I thought, I just remembered this tapping thing. I thought, okay, let's give it a go. And I kind of went to the toilet, locked myself in a cubicle and did pretty much 3 rounds of faster EFT. And I literally came out feeling so confident and went out there and nailed it, to be honest.
Even in sheer water, it works.
Yes, even in sheer water, that's right. Works anyway. So exactly. So yeah, I mean, I do teach it. I do show all my clients it, and it is part of the Fibro Freedom Therapy program as well, because I think it's a very valuable tool. So I reckon, if you don't mind, Mike, would you actually show us what it actually is in a way of, can you
Yeah,
actually go through it?
We will return to the video shortly, but first I just wanted to tell you about the Fibro Freedom Therapy online course. You see, I created a course for my own personal journey with fibromyalgia, as well as from my professional work as a hypnotherapist and an NLP coach. Through practical tools, science-based strategies, and mind-body techniques, it tackles the core challenges of pain, fatigue, fibro fog, poor sleep, and stress. It's your first step towards the life that you want to live. Also, if you are enjoying this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, and help me grow this channel as a free resource for those who have fibromyalgia. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of this video.
sure. So let's presume I was suffering from fibromyalgia right now. I'd say to myself, what is the predominant symptom I'm feeling right now? What is it? What am I going to name this? And it's crucial that you get the subject to name it, because it is coded in their amygdala, not yours. And whatever linguistic tag they put on it is what's going to fire the hippocampus and parahippocampal gyrus and all this stuff. So we have to get them to come up with it. So saying fibromyalgia is not going to work. But if they say, oh, burning, aching in my biceps. Whoa, that's a good one. That's so specific. Let's clear that one. So
Put a nail it down.
Yeah. So they say burning, aching my biceps. I say, how bad is it out of 10 right now? Not how bad was it last night? How bad can you make it right now? Can you make it worse? Well, it's about a 7. Can you make it an 8? Try. You know, and I want them to try to push it as high as possible, which is going to really focus them on the symptom. And it's going to unconsciously send the signal. If you can turn it up, you can turn it down. Yeah. So they'd say, you know, burning in my biceps. So I'd say, tap the center of your head and say, I've got burning in my biceps. Keep feeling the pain. Then the center of your forehead. I've got burning in my biceps. And you can mess it up a bit. You can mix it up. They can say, this horrible burning in my biceps. I hate this burning deep in my biceps. You're getting the point. You're unpacking it. And then the collarbone, this burning in my biceps. We've done 1, 2, 3, outer corner of the eye, under the eye and the cheekbone, either side, collarbone, and then squeeze the wrist. So it's at top of the ching, 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 4, 5, 6, and under the edge of the collarbone. That's the one people sometimes miss, just off the sternum where they connect below the jugular notch, just off to the side. Tap there. I say use the whole hand, like Robert Smith said. They won't miss it. It's pretty forgiving. And finally, squeeze the wrist. And with Tom Ye was one of our students, was a Chinese medicine practitioner, and he said, I'm not surprised this one works. He said, there's at least 4 meridians run right through there.
Okay.
So some people slap it. I find this easier. I mean, Gary Craig was slapping his ankles at one point, which was getting a bit weird even for some of my clients. But when you're teaching something like this, it will startle the audience when it works. I taught this to a very hard-nosed audience. I think even worse than a Shearwater audience. Really? I taught this at a lecture to the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice in the U.S.
No way.
So, these are cops standing there doing this tapping, feeling stupid, and then going, oh, this is actually working.
Did you get on video? I have to see that.
No, I did not. They didn't record it. This is back in like 2001, 2002.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So
but and if somebody does that, then you say, okay, what is it now out of 10? This burning in the biceps. That's only a 2. Okay. Remaining burning in the biceps. They've still got burning in the biceps. You only have to tap each one about 6 times, but the key is to keep focusing on it. And then very often it will go to 0, and it's gone. Or more often with fibro, which is a multiplex of symptomology, something else will pop up. And you say, what's that? Oh, aching spine, horrible aching spine. How bad is it out of 10? Oh, that's a 9. Okay, I got this horrible aching spine. And do it again. Clear it. Just whatever pops up, name it, feel it, and clear it. Just keep doing that until it's gone.
So you basically, after you've done one round, you immediately go in and try and recall those. That
see how bad you can feel it now. Yes.
And notice how much it's gone down. And then that's your new number. So it's what your subconscious is giving you, isn't it? So it's not like you kind of go in and go, oh, it might be a 4, could be a 6 or 5. It's whatever that number. Boom. is
Yeah,
when you
that's right.
first go in.
Go with what you get. Yeah, because the unconscious speaks softly and you think you're making it up, and he'll want to edit it. All the stuff David Snyder says, which is amazing. And then when it's done, I've added a thing. Igor Ledohovsky, a great hypnosis trainer, he interviewed me for 5 hours. And we'd never met. We had briefly, didn't know each other. And we parted as friends. We were able to. It was a joy to speak to someone who understood hypnosis at a really stellar level. And we had wonderful conversations. And he said, "Give me something for my students." I said, "Okay, here's one." And I recommend you do this at the end of the Fibro thing. Okay. On the back of the hand, the triple warmer in the channel between the fourth and fifth metacarpal, 2 fingertips wide. Tap there, either side firmly, or like this, and you make these positive statements. They're all I am statements. And it's, I am free of this. I feel fantastic. I am healthy. I am strong. I'm feeling amazing. All my health is back. All my resources are online. And then you say, and I feel awesome. And press the tip of the thumb to the tip of the ring finger. Squeeze, stare at it, and say awesome. So you're anchoring in 3 systems: visual, auditory, you're hearing yourself, and kinesthetic. That then starts to build an awesome anchor. And anytime you see something you like, say you see a comic who's really funny and you notice you're laughing, you're in a good state, fire your awesome anchor for 5 seconds, add that, stack it on, add the humor. Or you're at a concert, for me, AC/DC, 6th Row, or Black Sabbath, anywhere. It's just, I'm feeling amazing. That's amazing. Oh, awesome. Fire the awesome anchor. Add that feeling of that concert, that power to it. And then you have a battery here. You can fire anytime you need it, not to clear things, but just to get into a powerful state.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, is it called the gamut point, I think? Or
they call it 9 gamut. That's the EFT term, but I call it the Chinese medicine one, triple warmer. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the karate chop as well. Is that, would you do that?
I've used it sometimes for a setup, but I think it is only the words that are bringing that Vedic ego state to the executive. That's it. That's why it's when Larry Nim said, just try it without it and see what results you get. I was convinced I needed all of that, eyes and
did you used to do it at the beginning, did you say, before this?
Or the sore spot, even though I had this neurolymphatic reflex, and all of it is, I mean, the mark of the novice, the mark of the tyro is to overcomplexify things, is to bring in any degree of complexity because it feels like intelligence. The mark of the master is to strip it down to the bare bones that still works. Get rid of the nonsense. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, exactly. Massive believer in that. And it is very effective. I mean, it's like I say, I do use the when I got introduced to the 6-point one, which from you, I've added the one in at the top and as well, and I just find it so effective for all my clients. I've not had one client come back to me like saying no, I didn't really like that. Didn't do it for me.
The success rate. It's true, Mark. Tremendous success. And the only times, for people watching this, the only times it will not work are sometimes there's an electromagnetic disturbance where you are. I was helping a woman who had to identify her nephew's body when he died of a methadone overdose. Just horrible. And she came over and I was teaching her the tapping. We were doing it, and it was notching down 8, 7.5, 7, really slow. And we moved out of the kitchen where we were into the sunroom at the back, 15 feet away. And now it's going 8, 3, gone. Go back in the kitchen, notching down. Some disturbance in there. I don't know what it is, but it certainly made a difference. So if you're going somewhere and it's not going anywhere quickly, move to another room. The other thing is dehydration. You must be hydrated. So my clients have bottles of water as soon as they come in. Now I can't even say or couldn't say to anyone, oh, you should drink some water. I've now prescribed, literally, in the eyes of the law. But if I grab a bottle of water for myself and hand one to the other person, we both open them and start drinking them. That's fine. Yeah. And that will make it work quickly too. If they're dehydrated, it'll slow it. And the only other thing is if they do not have the ego state that has the problem wired to the executive function, the prefrontal cortex, if they don't have it there, it's not going to work. It's like, you have a phobia and you send your cousin in for the treatment and then wonder why you still have the phobia.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I've always found it very interesting. Also, it's also all to do with energy lines, energy points in your body. But it's interesting what you're saying earlier about chunking it right down, and you realize that once you got rid of one thing, and another thing came up. Because as an underlying thing of the Fibro freedom therapy is, I have this thing called the it's the fibro symptom loop. And that's kind of recognizing that you have all the symptoms like fibro fog, fatigue, pain, lack of sleep, and they all interweave with each other, making each other worse. But right at the sort of top of this, if you like, the actual driver of it is stress. I'm a massive believer it's stress that is the driver of it all. So if you can reduce your stress in any way, then that has that positive knock-on effect on every single
absolutely
aspect.
Absolutely agree. I mean, it was Hans Selye talked about that, probably one of the first. And stress is a driver of so many things. Increased cortisol, we're going to have increased inflammation. We always have the whole thing of inflammation appears to be at the root of so many things. That's why when I was doing this, one of the things I did, I do regularly, is just earthing here at the cabin, grounding, walk around barefoot on the ground. I've got an earthing mat at home. Does it make a difference? Absolutely. And when you look at the evidence of, biophysicists who've done experiments and said, you can see differences in 20 minutes in blood chemistry from someone just standing on the ground. It's unbelievable. So I always would say to people to add that as well, because keep the inflammation down as much as you can. Stop eating sugar and junk and things and omega-6s. And
Mike, where you are, it's a lot more pleasant to go and do like walk outside barefoot or earthing.
I don't know about
saw
right
your
now.
View. I mean, you'll freeze, but it's a beautiful view of a lake if you show it. Look at that.
It's pretty nice. Yeah, it's very
amazing.
nice.
Just
this is Canada.
Yeah.
Is it what?
You'll explain exactly where you are there.
Yeah, we're just off Minden, Ontario, about 2.5 hours north of Toronto, Canada, and on the shores of Bob Lake. And it's a deep lake with lake trout and smallmouth bass. We saw a wolf on the road once. We've seen bears, and there's moose up here and deer and every kind of animal. It's just, it's beautiful. It's a great environment to be in. But the problem is it's terribly cold. I mean, last night, a couple of nights ago, it was down below freezing. I'm still a holdout for Fahrenheit. And it was about 28 Fahrenheit.
Everyone's complaining about how cold it is, but it's about 12, 13 degrees outside. So
I'm just going to pull the blind down. It's blinding me. I'm still here. My wife says, stop talking. She's Canadian. She says, stop talking like you're 100 years old. You're going to get there soon enough. I used to be young.
Oh, yeah.
These tools are amazing, aren't they? It's astonishing. The stories we can tell about the efficacy. I had a keynote. I did a lot of keynotes over the years. I prefer doing those to shows. I'd be in Miami Beach one night, in Vancouver, Canada, 2 days later. It's just all over the place doing 1 hour things. And I was in Corner Brook, Newfoundland, east coast of Canada, and I spoke to a corporate group. In the morning, they were waiting for their bus to arrive, and I was waiting for my cab to the airport. And they're sitting out front of the hotel. Beautiful place. And a woman said, can you fix a fear of elevators? I said, you've got an elevator phobia? She said, yeah. She said, I've been in an elevator in years. She said, I stay within 3 floors and walk. I said, come on out in the lobby, show me. She couldn't even get in it. I said, well, just do this. Got to do the tapping. She did about 4 rounds of tapping, walked in the elevator and went, okay, this is impossible. Her friend said, what is? She said, he just cured my elevator phobia. I said, I didn't do it. You did. And her friend said, I got an elevator phobia. I've been in one. Like, second one, 8 minutes, 2 phobias they'd had for years, completely gone.
That's incredible.
But it's the same with the hypnosis too. When we fix an allergy that people used to go into anaphylaxis from and then send them back to their allergist and they show normal on a skin patch test. My question is, they say, well, how did this work? I say, we've retrained your immune system. You've done it. I just showed you how. And I said, can I ask you a question? And they say, yeah. And I said, why isn't your allergist doing this? Good question, isn't it? Follow the dollars.
Well, actually, it is a good question. That kind of brings me to a question I actually wanted to ask you. Do you believe in medical intervention has its place with fibromyalgia, or do you think it's really just masking? And do you believe in the alternative therapies a lot more?
Yeah, good question. Like I said, the things Dr. Demergen did for me helped. They reduced the pain incredibly, but it was a temporary fix. And allopathic medicine, I think all I would typically see would be painkillers and maybe anti-inflammatories. I don't know what they do because I've never been to a regular MD for it or a GP, but this works so well. It's sort of, I don't know why anybody would go anywhere else. I'm not opposed to standard medical treatments, far be it from that, but far be it for me to say that. But go right to
Yeah,
the cause, the inflammation, the emotions underlying it,
exactly.
and so on.
Yeah, I'm a massive believer in that as well. Well, thanks so much, Mike, for jumping on this call with me, and I'm sure that a lot of people out there will really, really benefit from this 6 point EFT. And is there anything else there, Mike, that you can people can either contact you, or is there anything else that they can do to learn a bit more about hypnosis?
Yes. Check out MikeMandelHypnosis.com. Mandel is Mandel, one L, MikeMandelHypnosis.com. And we are a training institute. We do stuff online. We teach online, and we teach live in Toronto twice a year, classroom stuff. People come from China, New Zealand, Czech
Yeah,
Republic, all over the world. And we train 6 psychiatrists. It's amazing. But the great thing is, if you go to MikeMandelHypnosis.com, it's very easy to navigate. It's all there. You can check out everything we teach for $1. I mean, literally have
wow,
access to everything. And we think you'll be amazed at what you'll learn. The other thing is, say you're not interested in hypnosis, not doing hypnosis, but you'd like to experience it for whatever
yeah,
purpose you like. Give something for free. Mike Mandel Hypnosis /castle, because we have a
yes.
recording called Journey to the Castle, which takes you on an inner journey, a hero's journey, and enables you to access resources and change your life. So Mike Mandel Hypnosis /castle. Check it out. We think you'll like it.
That is a wonderful thing to listen to as well. So yeah,
Hmm.
I highly recommend that.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Uh,
Thank you.
well, thank you so much, Mike. I really, really appreciate it. And
My pleasure.
yeah, and we'll be in touch soon. Hopefully, you can jump on another call sometime,
Anytime. Anytime.
and hopefully be part of this fibro freedom therapy. Thank you
That
very
sounds
much.
great. We part as friends. Keep in
We
touch,
do.
lad.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks again, and good night.